Here we go.
Got it.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. My guest today is Hanna Rakowska, and she is not only going to be making a fantastic recipe, but she's going to be talking a lot about cancer prevention. She actually overcame it herself. Please welcome her to the show. It's so nice to see you.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Chef AJ. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you because, you know, cancer it's a big deal and it's on a lot of people's minds because either they've had it, they know people that have it, and it's certainly something that, from what I understand, it's better to prevent.
100%. It is more preventable than treatable, based on everything we have learned in the last few decades and the war on cancer that has not been won. It is definitely where we need to target our efforts, prevention.
Right. So how did you get so interested in helping people with this?
Yeah, great question. I was all set to go into the dental hygiene program. I actually completed the dental hygiene program, but during that whole process, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I was 20 years old, and basically, was proposed 6 months of chemotherapy treatments and radiation treatments for stage 1 cancer. I refused at the time. Just it didn't feel right for me to go through stage 4 treatment with a stage 1 diagnosis. And that actually led my family and I to travel to Peru, where there was a medical institute where the oncologists actually treated cancer with chemotherapy, radiation, as well as herbal therapy and nutrition. So they sat me down and they said, first thing you got to do is you got to change your diet. I was eating a very Polish cuisine, lots of sausage and creams and pierogies and meat, right? Meat a couple times a day.
Kielbasa by any chance?
Kielbasa, oh yeah, all the time. And even just like chicken or fish, but it was every day, right? A couple times a day. And they said, first thing you got to do is you've got to change your diet. You've got to go more plant-based. And they feed you at this retreat center that I was at this institute. And then they give you plant-based meals as well as herbal therapy. And so I learned about this entire, it just opened my eyes. I had never been exposed to any sort of plant-based dietary pattern before. I never even thought about what I was putting into my body. Came back to Vancouver from Peru with all my herbs. And then that led me to take a couple months to think about what I wanted to do for treatment in Vancouver, to continue treatment in Vancouver. And I found a new oncologist who treated me in an individualized manner. He did another scan, and the scan showed that my tumor had decreased by 50% since I just had done the herbal therapy and the nutrition.
Wow. How old were you? How old were you at the time?
I was 20.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must have been quite a shock.
It was. So yeah, 50% reduction in tumor growth, or tumor size at the time was just like, whoa, this nutrition and complementary treatment really works. And then we did chemo after that to complete everything.
What was the first thing that went, how did they even find the diagnosis? Did you have symptoms? What led to you discovering that you had this?
Yeah, great question. I actually felt great. I was working out all the time. I felt no symptoms at all, except for a lump on my neck that I found myself. There's still a scar here from the surgery, but I just kind of found this lump, and it ended up being several lymph nodes inside my neck. My entire neck was
wow.
Affected.
I can't imagine what a person must go through when they get a diagnosis. Were you scared? How did you feel?
You feel very numb, and at the age of 20, the first thing that comes into your mind as a woman, as an early or a young woman, was obviously losing my hair, just because that's what we're exposed to in terms of the media, in terms of cancer treatment, and then all my little problems of dating whoever or schoolwork or whatever, getting great grades, just disappeared. Everything just disappears. All you care about is your health. Yeah, so it's a shock, but
it's funny how most people don't really think about their health until it's almost gone.
Exactly. And that's why I try to push prevention so much now is, you don't really, I know that people don't care about prevention as much until they're hit with something like this. But that's why I just always try to, stress that, like, you don't want to be sitting there at the doctor's office. You don't want to be hearing that diagnosis, right?
Absolutely. People want to eat for the cure and run for the cure and walk for the cure. I mean, they want to eat, run for the cure and walk for the cure when really they got to eat for the cure or eat for the prevention. So they don't need the cure.
Exactly. And, Dr. Greger has so many great, obviously, videos, but one of them is talking about how cancer is on a continuum. And it's a 10 to 40 year process, a chronic disease. And in the middle of that, the middle stage, that promotion stage of cancer is highly affected by our dietary and our lifestyle choices. And it's this like golden opportunity for us to intervene when cells are dividing, but they're not it's not metastatic, to really prevent it from progressing and prevent it from actually becoming a metastatic disease. So we have so much control with our dietary and our lifestyle factors and habits. In fact,
the place that you went to in Peru, does it still exist? And how did you even hear of it?
Yeah, the universe always has a funny way of doing that, right? My mom was actually reading just for leisure. Or for pleasure. She was reading a book about a Polish missionary who was working in the Amazon with herbal therapies for cancer treatment with oncologists. And as I got diagnosed, she was reading this book. And the institute does exist. It's called IPIFA. So it's a it's a Spanish name, but it's the Institute of Phytotherapeutic Research in Lima, Peru. Really, really great place. Yeah, really. They treat not just cancer, they treat chronic diseases.
That's fantastic. I've heard of like the Gerson Institute, but I've never heard of that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and and they don't shun like chemo. They still promote it and radiation. They just say it should be complementary, like nutrition and everything else should be an adjunct to the medical treatment, because it's so harsh, right? The medical treatments are so harsh.
Do they completely recommend a 100% plant-based diet, like just for in general?
For my diagnosis, they did. They did say you can have a little bit of lean meat like once a week if you want to, but for my diagnosis, it was more, no, you got to go like whole food, plant-based, minimal flavor, minimal spices. Let's just keep it really nice and bland. Let your body heal from this.
Wow. Had you ever heard of a vegan or a plant-based diet before this?
No, not really, actually. No, I had not. So this opened my eyes entirely. And it's funny when things start rolling, like after I started eating this way for my health, and I started juicing and, cabbage juices and beet juices every day during chemo and everything else. After that, things started rolling, and I started meeting various people that talked to me about other parts of going plant-based, the animal welfare aspect, recommending books, environmental aspects as well. So it just kind of rolled, and then my whole world just opened, and I realized I needed to do this for, I want to help other people going through cancer.
So even though they offered you the option of having a small amount of meat, you didn't take it, did you?
I think I probably took it the first day just because I was used to it. And then after that, I just completely realized I didn't need this. Yeah,
I'm curious though, why, with what we know, from Dr. Furman and Dr. Greger about cancer and animal products, why they would recommend any if somebody already had the diagnosis.
I thought about this a lot, and knowing now what I know about the importance of, I think it was to do with protein at the time. This is also, 2006. So this is quite a long time ago. We weren't as educated, I don't think, in terms of protein, especially as we know, most doctors don't have the nutrition education or training. So I think it was to do with protein during treatment, because cancer patients require more than the average person. And so for them, I think it was more, you can have a little bit of quote unquote protein. And that's what it kind of centered around. I don't know what the recommendations are today. I'd love to actually reach out and find out.
Maybe they forgot that plants have protein.
Yes. Maybe I should go there and post to seminar or something.
That's so funny. Well, I always say I learn at least one new thing on the show, and that's a very cool
Yeah.
place. I Googled it, and, maybe I'll have somebody from that on the show, because it might give other people hope that haven't heard of that place, that is looking for an alternative place to go. And also, I don't know why it's called alternative. I mean, to me, the chemotherapy and radiation should be the alternative when the holistic approach doesn't work.
I know, especially when we know that, chemotherapy is not as effective as most people would think it is for most cancers.
There's a great book about that. I think it's called The Emperor of All Maladies. Have you read it?
I have not. What's it called? Sorry?
The Emperor of All Maladies. It's about how basically it doesn't work, I mean, because when they give you these numbers, they're not really what people, unless you're a statistician that can do it, that it gives people false hope. But yeah. So anyway, that's just a very cool story. Did cancer run in your family at all?
No, and I mean, sorry. Yes, one of my grandparents had breast cancer. My grandma had breast cancer. But knowing that, learning what I'm going through this whole process, going to nutrition school, I did a cancer nutrition program as well, to become a certified holistic cancer practitioner. And also just reading books of medical experts, like Dr. Greger, Dr. Richard Belliveau, and, various others, Dr. Fuhrman. We know that genetics are only responsible for 5 to 10% of all cancers. So that's the thing, yeah, it runs in my family, but so does our diet.
Right. People don't realize how much power they have,
Yeah,
in
exactly. So
yeah. Well, so you turned, life gave you lemons and you made lemonade. You turned something that could be devastating and, horrible into basically your career.
Yeah, I completely changed my career. I am super passionate about not only, prevention through dietary habits and means, but also nutrition therapy in general for cancer treatment, because malnutrition causes 1 in 5 cancer-related deaths. And again, it's just not talked about in the medical system. There's like one dietitian for every 2,300 cancer patients in the States. So it's a huge issue on 2 different levels, on the prevention side, as well as during treatment and after, of course, right? So that's why I'm that's why I'm trying to spread the message of, let's prevent it if we can. But if you are to get a diagnosis, let's try to support your body in the best possible way, support your natural defense systems in the best possible way during these other very aggressive treatments.
What is the best possible way?
To support the body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's based on what the science says. It's a plant-powered diet. We have so much research now, so many different lines of converging research showing that plant-based dietary patterns reduce the risk of several cancers. And that's because plants contain so many protective factors, including, not only vitamins and minerals, but phytochemicals that have been scientifically proven to suppress cancer cells in the lab, as well as fiber, as well as, antioxidants, just a whole range of protective factors. So that is the best diet. We know that plant-based diets have been shown to favorably alter gene expression in cancer and to help reduce proliferation of cancer cells in the lab, as I said, and just to support your immune system, your microbiome, like your gut health, which supports your immune system in turn, supporting DNA repair, stem cell regeneration, so many things. Yeah. So plant-based diet, I would say all the way.
That's great. And do you work with people individually, in groups? What do you do?
Yeah, great. Thank you for asking. I do. I work individually with people, as well as I teach nutrition classes in several centers and clinics in Vancouver, to do with cancer nutrition and chronic pain nutrition as well. But I typically work with one-on-one, which I love to do, just to connect with people and make sure that they're guided and supported along the way, in terms of going through treatment. So currently that's where I'm at.
Oh, wow. Great. So what do you eat? And do you eat differently now that you're are recovered. And do you ever worry about it coming back?
Oh yeah, that's a very important question. I used to worry a lot about cancer coming back. But then I think during my entire process of being diagnosed, I was also opened up to the world of spiritual healing and mental health and everything else. I met everybody that I was supposed to meet along the way in terms of like integrative energy healers and, just guides that I really needed at that point in my life. And I realized that I can't live in fear. It attracts a disease state in the body, right? So I really try not to live in fear. I try to live my life and just day by day. But I do eat differently now than at the time when I was first plant-based, because I was a really unhealthy vegan at the beginning, especially after cancer treatment. You kind of go into this like, like celebratory mode where you're eating anything you want. And I actually gained some weight eating a lot of oil-based, refined, ultra-processed foods as a vegan. And, slowly over time, I transitioned to a whole food plant-based diet. So today I really try to avoid processed foods, but once in a while, of course, you get into, you go to a barbecue, you have like a veggie burger that's maybe Beyond Meat or whatever, but I try to really stick to the basics, the whole grains, legumes, the vegetables, fruits, nuts, and seeds. No oil, usually.
Daryl said he missed at what age she was diagnosed, 20. You don't look much older than 20 now.
Oh, I'm 37 in a couple weeks.
Well, you really, you look amazing. So, it seems like time has stood still for you.
I don't know. I think it's nutrition too.
So you did ultimately do a little bit of the conventional treatment after going to the place in Peru, right?
Yes, I was introduced to when I flew home from Peru. When I got home, I had 3 messages on our answering machine, that recommended one specific oncologist in Vancouver, a private one, who basically looked at me and said, "I'm not giving you stage 4 treatment. There's no way I'll make you you'll be sick from that." I really had no symptoms of this disease at all. I felt great except for the lump. So he just said, "Let's do a PET scan. Let's see where it is. Let's see where it is." When we found out where it actually was, that it hadn't spread, he said, "You only need like 1/8 of the treatment that was initially proposed." So I was really, really lucky. I did chemotherapy for about 6 weeks or 2 months. I forget now. And then I did a month of radiation therapy. So, and again, it took recovering from that was also where nutrition came into play, because regardless of how much you're getting, it's still a cytotoxin. It's still highly toxic therapy. So again, supporting myself through nutrition after, and plant-powered dietary habits was just so important.
Yeah, absolutely. People always ask every guest, even yesterday, my guest was 10 years old and they asked her, "What do you eat in a day?"
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, I start with oatmeal in the morning, with berries and flax seeds, usually, just to keep it really simple. And I also like to add some green powder to my oatmeal, just to amp up the nutrition. If I don't have oatmeal, I'll have the smoothie that I'll be making for you today, or demoing for you today. But I love oatmeal in the morning. It just keeps me satisfied. It's comforting to me. It's not just I look forward to it in the morning. And then I stick to just really simple. I think it was Rich Roll. He was in Vancouver a couple months ago for a convention. He said he keeps things really simple with his diet, plant-based. And I relate to him entirely. I will have brown rice and beans and guacamole and pico de gallo or salsa every day and be really, really happy about that. Maybe put it in a wrap sometimes, maybe make pasta sometimes. But I'm really simple. I approach food really yeah.
I'm the same way. Instead of rice and beans, with me, it's sweet potatoes and broccoli. I don't know. When I like something, I don't get tired of it.
That's it, exactly.
When you're not eating addictive foods, you don't have the same draw for having to have them, I think.
Exactly. And me too, like sweet potatoes, yams, potatoes, broccoli. I do have quite a bit because it's a cancer fighting food. I should include that. I actually have a list of foods that I include in my daily diet if I can. That's why I created the smoothie recipe.
Are you going to be, by any chance, are you going to be demoing the smoothie?
Yes.
Oh, good. I can't wait. So guys, there will be a wonderful recipe. So stay tuned for the end of the show.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's just a nice way to get everything in one go.
It does make it easy. I know that Dr. Christy Funk, who with breast cancer loves the idea of getting everything in a smoothie.
She has her famous antioxidant smoothie. I love her. I love her book. I was actually going to recommend your viewers to read her book because it's incredible. It's such an important book for women. Breast, the Owner's Manual. She's incredible. And as well as another book. This is the book that I got when I had cancer. It's called Foods That Fight Cancer. I got it at Costco in 2006, and I still refer to it. And it's by Dr. Richard Belliveau and Dennis Gingra. And it is the scientific compilation of all the foods that have been actually proven to fight cancer in the lab. It's incredible.
Wow, I think that's a great resource. Is he somebody that's on the scene at all that would come on a show and talk?
Dr. Belliveau would, I think he'd be an incredible guest to have on.
Do you know how to contact him? Because
I can try. I haven't ever contacted him, but I can try. He actually is a part of a really documentary called The C Word with Megan O'Hara when she was going through her breast cancer treatment. He was a part of the documentary as well.
You are a wealth of information. So maybe you can answer this question from Susanna. Yes. How would Hanna suggest we approach this way of eating with friends and loved ones, especially those who are eating a SAD diet?
Love it. Friends and loved ones. I think, and being in the plant, I think Chef AJ, you know this too, like the best way to do it is just to lead by example and bring your own food and make really delicious meals when you have gatherings, and invite people over for a potluck, invite people over for dinner. Bring a dish when you're going over to their home, maybe suggest a restaurant that has plant-based options. Recommend a documentary to watch. I love recommending documentaries because they're a really nice, easy, entertaining way for people to get more information. The one that I recommend recently is Game Changers, because it's, you just say Arnold Schwarzenegger, produced it, and Jackie Chan and Lewis Hamilton, and everybody's eyes just open and they say, oh my gosh, you're kidding, I've got to watch that. So I approach it that way. I was also, when I was married before, I just made my own meals. My ex-husband made his chicken, like four chicken breasts a day. And it ended up kind of being, he ended up just changing to a plant-based diet because he liked my food better. He liked the flavors better. So I think just getting people exposed to it is the way to do it.
Nice. Jerry wants to know, what kind of healing exercises do you do?
Healing exercises in terms, can you specify, is it Sherry?
Jerry, maybe she means you said, like you're taking a whole body mind approach and not worrying that the cancer is going to come back anymore.
Yeah. Okay. I understand. Every morning I do the Wim Hof breathing method. So I do a lot of breathing exercises to rebalance my mind, my nervous system. I think that's the most important. Honestly, your nervous system is the most important part of to me of health, because I know that I suffer from high anxiety and stress. And so I want to make sure that I start my day in the proper parasympathetic state, calm state. And then I do yoga almost every day. I joined a yoga studio that is traditional, like Indian yoga, which is very spiritual. I also have an integrative energy healer that I see whenever I feel like I'm out of alignment. Prayer is really important to me. Meditation is also important to me, and just being around people that I love and doing things that bring me joy. That's
nice. Have you ever heard of Reiki?
Oh yes, energy healing. Yes.
I love that.
Do you do that?
I've been doing it as often, at least once a month since I discovered it, and I think it was like 2003. I think it's a total game changer. I think it keeps you well is what I
It
think.
does. When you're not, I always tell my clients, you can infuse yourself with green juice all day. If you're not looking at your soul and healing your soul from that perspective, it's hard. It's hard to heal when you're not incorporating that part of your health.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw a question from
Mm-hmm.
Mo. Where did it go? Okay, my chat moves a lot more quickly than everyone's. Okay. Oh yeah. Have you ever had an influence on your friends or maybe even your family since you changed your way of eating?
Great question. Yes, my family, of course, because they get the bombardment of everything, right? Like I preach to them since day one. They saw me go through what I went through, so it was easier for them to change to a plant-based diet. And yeah, my mom is a vegetarian, mainly plant-based, but she has a little bit of cheese here and there. My brother, again, vegan. A lot of my friends have switched to a vegan diet. Not everybody though. It's really hard to, or not hard to. I think everybody is on their own path, and it's not really like I've influenced a few people for sure. But have I changed many? I think it's more so my clients going through cancer than my friends, to be honest.
Wow. Okay, if this question's too personal, you don't have to answer, but Jerry wants to know if you're single because she has a perfect son for you who's 36.
Oh, that's funny.
But tell people you're in Canada though, because I think Jerry's somewhere in the US.
That's really funny. Thank you. That's sweet. Yes, I am single actually. I'm taking time for myself and my business right now. Yeah, for the first time. Mm-hmm. In a long time.
There you go. Well, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean, I asked that. Let me tell you something. I've done over 1,050 shows and I asked that question once and the person flipped out. Did not want to be asked that question, but thank you.
Oh no. Yeah, I'm an open book.
Thanks for answering that so graciously, so
no problem.
That's fantastic. Does Hanna take healing nature walks in the beautiful Vancouver forests?
Oh yes, of course. I forgot about that. Yes, I take nature walks all the time. I like to do one workout in the morning where you work up a sweat, like a run or the gym or whatever, or hot yoga. And then in the afternoon, I'll take a nature walk. And it's really important to me to do that, to be around, especially trees and water if I can. Yeah.
Do you have any pets? Because I find that they're very healing as well.
Yes, I have a dog named Cornelius. We call him Corny or Corn Dog, and he's a rescue. And he definitely, he's not here right now, but yeah, I do have a dog.
So that's a cute name. I love that. Cornelius. Such a proper name.
You're a huge dog person, right?
Just pets in general. And that's what I love living up here now. I see rabbits running by. It's like the cutest thing ever. But yeah, dogs always will have a special place in my heart.
They're the best. Animals are the best.
I think they're really healing. As a matter of fact, when I lived in the desert before the pandemic, Bailey and I volunteered at a cancer center and visiting patients undergoing chemo and radiation, which I thought was so interesting because you went to a place where they actually told you changing your diet was the utmost importance, but I would visit people when they were having like infusions, which they could be there all day. So they were pretty bored. So they were watching TV, reading a book, but open to having a visitor because they weren't sick in the same way somebody in the hospital is, you know what I'm saying? So like they were more open to visits. Sometimes when somebody's very, very sick in the hospital, they just want to be left alone. And when I was there, ultimately they'd be coming around with the snack cart, especially if it was lunchtime. And like the choices were basically some kind of a sandwich on white bread. It could be turkey, it could be ham and cheese, it could be roast beef. And then they would give them chips and a soda. And, as a volunteer, I wasn't allowed to say anything about diet, but it just seems that most oncologists feel that diet has absolutely nothing to do with it.
You bring up such a critical, I don't think people realize how critical what you just brought up really is, because number one, oncologists, as much as I love them for what they do, right, for what they know and their toolbox, their toolkit and their toolbox, they have about an hour of nutrition training in medical school on average, right? And even so, I was never told about nutrition when I was diagnosed. They never even I asked him, I said, should I change my diet? And he said, eat whatever you want, whatever makes you happy during chemo is what we're striving for. Just get your calories in, regardless of whether that's Coca-Cola or ice cream or pizza or kale. It doesn't matter, as long as you're getting your calories in. And the truth of the matter is, it really does matter. It matters more than we can imagine. 1 in 5 cancer patients actually dies from malnutrition. So it's like 1 in 5 cancer-related deaths are just because people aren't eating properly, right? That's shocking. Most people don't know that. And 80 to 90% of cancer patients experience malnourishment, signs and symptoms of malnourishment during their treatment. And oftentimes it's too late. We have to support the body through nutrition immediately at the time of diagnosis, not like when we start getting signs and symptoms of malnourishment, right? So, I mean, it's shocking that we're not there yet in the medical system, like serving chips and Coke and deli sandwiches like carcinogens, right?
I don't know if you're able to answer this question, but I'll ask it. Would a specific diet do anything to help someone recently diagnosed with idiopathic pulmonary disease?
Idiopathic pulmonary disease, so lung disease. Definitely not my area of expertise at all whatsoever. I'd have to do research into that. But I think that you can always support your body through nutrition when going through anything. Like we know through studies on lung cancer patients that we can support them nutritionally through cancer. And also when people who are smokers, when they eat, for example, cruciferous vegetables, they tend to excrete more carcinogens in their urine than people who aren't. So we can always support every system for sure.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Dina says, what are your daily supplements?
Oh, great question, Dina. People always ask me this. So I will talk about a couple in when I make the smoothie, just because they're whole food based supplements. But the ones that we really want to look at when we're eating a plant-based diet, and Chef AJ, I know you know this already, vitamin B12 is critical to prevent actually stroke. Vegans have a high risk of stroke when they're not supplementing vitamin B12. So I take vitamin B12 cyanocobalamin. I take 1,000 milligrams a day, and then I take a vitamin D3 because I am in Vancouver and we don't get enough sunlight during the day. So I'll take 2,000 IUs of vitamin D3 a day. And then I'll take a medicinal mushroom extract powder, and I will also take a powdered green formula in my smoothies or my oatmeal or just water. And that's usually what I stick to. If I'm having high stress in my life, I'll have a B complex, a whole food based B complex supplement that I'll take, or magnesium before bed when I'm experiencing high stress or insomnia or something like that. That's pretty much it, unless I'm missing something that'll come to my mind. But yeah,
nice,
really basic. Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious, what do you do for exercise, and how important is exercise in general for people trying to prevent cancer or who have been diagnosed with it?
I mean, it is as important as your dietary changes, right? Exercise in terms of prevention, exercise during treatment. There's so many studies that show improved treatment outcomes with exercise, especially studies on women with breast cancer. It's really, really important because exercise actually lowers the levels of estrogen in the body. It can help to reduce the levels of dangerous estrogen in the body. And so for me, I like to run. I like to switch it up. So I'll run around the lake. I'll go to the gym sometimes when it's raining here in Vancouver, which is often. So I'll do the elliptical trainer. And then I try to do a yoga class once a day, or a hike in nature at the end of my day, because yoga is usually at the end of the day for me. And it is critical. It's critical for mental health, for physical health, for reducing, again, levels of dangerous hormones in the body and getting things moving. Because I had lymphoma, lymphatic fluid doesn't have its own pump like your circulatory system does, like your blood. So it's really important to get things moving in terms of your lymphatic fluid. And so I keep that in mind all the time. But I when I'm sitting for hours on end, I try to get up every half an hour and do some sort of stretch or movement or something like that, or get on the rebounder, the little mini trampoline. That's a really effective way to do that as well, especially for people going through cancer. The rebounder is a great form of exercise to get things kind of flowing.
Yep. Okay, this is a good question from Colleen. Knowing what you know now, do you ever regret doing chemo and radiation?
Yeah, that's a good one too. I don't regret it. Okay, I'll tell you why I don't regret it, because the studies on chemo show that chemo is only 2.1% effective for the majority of cancers, right? That's the biggest study that was ever done. It is, but however, there are exceptions to that, and the cancers that are exempt from that are Hodgkin's lymphoma, various forms of leukemia, and testicular cancer. And I had Hodgkin's lymphoma, and chemotherapy does target stem cells in Hodgkin's lymphoma. So it was necessary for me, and it was also effective. If I had another form of cancer today that didn't fall under those three categories, obviously testicular cancer wouldn't fall into that one for me, but I don't think I would do it, to be honest. I don't think I would do it.
What was it like going through those two procedures, chemo and radiation? Were you sick all the time? How did it feel?
You know, during my chemo, I actually felt pretty good because I was my parents were making me cabbage, beet juice, carrot, apple juices every single day. We juiced like 64 ounces of juice a day. I was eating a really nutritious, nutrient dense diet. I felt great. I never, my oncologist told me that I might lose my hair. I lost like an inch around the crown of my head, all of the way around, but I didn't lose the majority of my hair. I was able to exercise. I never, I think if I'm repeating, I'm sorry, I never vomited once. I did feel depressed though. I remember feeling exceptionally depressed on chemo. And then radiation was just, the burn of it was painful. It really does, like I had it like to here. I had like a huge burn for a few weeks. But other than that, I think I went through it really, really smoothly compared to other people that I've worked with, that I've witnessed now. Yeah, I'm really lucky.
Wow, fantastic. Susan says, some plant-based experts maintain that juicing is the best way to intensively ingest nutrients. Do you agree?
I agree in certain circumstances when someone has, for example, if they have side effects of chemotherapy treatment, and they have mouth sores or nausea, indigestion, gastrointestinal issues, or they can't handle the taste of food, they can't handle a high fiber diet for whatever reason. Maybe it's their cancer is like a GI cancer, and there's a blockage somewhere. I think juicing is really, really effective. I think it's a really good adjunct to an overall whole food plant-based diet. I don't think it replaces a whole food plant-based diet. However, I think that fiber is just too important. 80% of micronutrients are found in the fiber of plants and vegetables. So we really don't want to be missing out on that aspect when we're juicing. But as an adjunct, I think it's really, really effective. Unless someone just can't eat whole foods, and then juicing, of course, is a really good way of getting nutrition in. But smoothies are better. There's more fiber.
Absolutely. That's what I would think. Yeah. Mona says, do you use a powdered green? And if so, which one?
I do. I use a powder, and I tend to switch it up a lot because I don't want to stick to just one. I think that the one on the market now that I'm hearing a lot about is athletic greens, and I haven't tried that one yet. 73 different vegetables and fruits in one like product. Ritual uses that. I know he talks about it a lot. That's where I learned about it from. But I use organic original greens currently. But there are so many different types. As long as it's organic, as long as they're, I would say organic and NSF tested would be really good.
Do you do private consults? Colleen wants to know, and if so, can you do them with people that live in the United States?
I do private consults Mondays and Tuesdays, and I do them all over the world. Yeah.
Nice.
Beauty of Zoom, right?
Yeah, that's fantastic. Jerry says, bless you for all your suffering and sharing your experience so openly. Most people that work with you, is it because they have a cancer diagnosis, or do you just in generally work with people as a nutritionist?
I do general nutrition consulting as well, but I really try to focus on working with the cancer population, because it's where I feel I'm doing my best work, because there's such so little support in that community, because like I said, there's one dietitian for every 23 cancer patients. So I really do focus there, as well as chronic pain. I have a lot of experience working with chronic pain patients. But I definitely help people with various health conditions, especially.
Nice. Have you ever heard of CHANGEpain powder as nutrition? Elizabeth would like to know.
CHANGEpain powder?
She's spelling it K-A''CHAVA. Maybe you could say what it is, or
I have not.
Provide a link and then we can look more into it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep. So let's see if there's any, yes, her website. And again, you can talk about that. See, if people watch on Facebook, they can't really see what's going on. That's why I really recommend, and same with Twitter, people do watch the show on YouTube, because it is a YouTube show, because everything's in the show notes, your website, the link to get your free guide, the recipe, all that kind of stuff, your bio. So if you want to tell people what they can get if they sign up, maybe they'll do it.
Yeah, that's a great leeway. I was going to say, because I have a sign from an expo I just did. I printed out a little banner sign or whatever you call it. This is what you get when you sign up for my website. You get a daily guide to cancer-fighting foods. And basically what I did was I looked at all the research that has already been done by medical experts like Dr. Greger and Dr. Christy Funk and Dr. William Lee and Dr. Richard Belliveau from Foods That Fight Cancer. And I basically took everything that I learned and compiled it together into one daily guide for the foods that I want to incorporate, that I want my clients to incorporate on a daily basis, that have been proven to help suppress cancer. And so what I have is I have them all listed with examples of the foods, as well as serving sizes, so that you know what to aim for every single day.
Right.
And it's not easy to get all those foods every single day.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The book I was telling you about, The Emperor of All Maladies, it's a biography of cancer. It was written by an oncologist, and it's a book they really recommend and sell at the True North Health Center. That basically talks about, whether or not these treatments are effective. And yeah, I haven't read it, but I probably should. And it sounds, because if Dr. Goldhammer recommends it, it's good.
And I'm going to read it as well.
And then tell me about it, because it looks like a very long, hard book, because it was actually written by a doctor. Hanna's smoothie recipe uses soy milk. Would almond milk be a suitable replacement, or is soy a specific ingredient for cancer fighting?
What a question. Soy is a specific ingredient for cancer fighting. Yes, you can definitely use almond milk, oat milk, hemp milk, whatever you want. But I also want people to incorporate whole food soy into their daily diet. Recommended serving size is actually 3 servings a day. But minimum 1 cup of soy milk, organic soy milk, or non-GMO, or half a cup of tofu, which are examples of what you want to aim for in terms of the content of the isoflavones in soy foods that have been shown to reduce our risk of breast cancer substantially, as well as prostate cancer. And soy actually has so many other health benefits as well, like reducing menopausal, like hot flashes, and increasing bone density, and reducing cholesterol levels, like bad cholesterol levels. There are so many benefits to soy, and it's just a really easy way to get it in when you're using it in your smoothies.
Right. You mentioned prostate cancer. Do you also work with men, because there's such a strong link between dairy and prostate cancer, isn't there?
Yes, there is. Yeah, I do. I work with men. I do work with men as well, and I mean, dairy is a strong association with prostate cancer, as well as poultry and eggs, right? So that's always a fun conversation to have. He's not used to eating plant-based, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Susanna wants to know, how long was your training, and where was it located?
My nutrition training was 1 year in Vancouver at the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition. But then I also did a degree in health science on top of that, after that, the schooling part for nutrition. And then I did a diploma of holistic cancer practice at Edison Nutrition Institute in Toronto.
Nice. Teresa says, does this include skin cancer? Because a lot of skin cancer is caused by the sun. So even if you're eating a perfect diet, which will help, I mean, there's still more involved with skin cancer, isn't there? I mean, you can't just assume that eating will help you if you're, not using sunscreen. And I don't know. Is that true?
Yeah. So with skin cancer, of course, SPF is so important. We know that. Having a physical mineral-based sunscreen is so important, but diet is also really important because the antioxidants that you're consuming will also help to mop up the free radical damage from the UV radiation. So you have to combine everything together.
Yeah. Well, you have beautiful skin.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I actually have a lot of melasma because I didn't take care of my skin in my 20s. I never used SPF.
It's looking good now. I pride myself on my skin now because it was in such bad shape. Because it's like people that smoke. When you're young, you do foolish things because you just think you're never going to get sick and you're never going to die. But you got sick at a very young age, and so I living in LA, it wasn't like was living in the desert, and I never wore sunscreen. I remember like in my teens using baby oil and getting burns. And when I got to the desert, I mean, I saw 2 dermatologists because my skin was just in such bad shape, and they both read me the Riot Act because they see so much skin cancer. I mean, that's their whole. And then I just did a whole 180. And I mean, now I went from being a sun worshiper to basically a sun avoider, at least on my face. I mean, I do not, I don't mind if my arms and legs get, tan, but sun does not touch this face. And it has almost 4 years. And it's like, like when I'm out without a hat, I'm like,
me too. I'm the exact same boat now. I know it's a little bit late in the game, but whatever, it's fine.
Jerry says my skin is flawless. Thank you. Well, because it just looks so
your skin is gorgeous. So.
It looked so bad, and I had to get things burned off, and it really hurt. And he burned a hole deep in my face, and then he had to do like things. It was just a mess. So it's just easier. It's just like processed food and addictive foods. It's easier for me to just avoid it.
Yes, exactly. Me too. 100% is easier than moderation.
Absolutely. Susanna says, can you recommend a good brand of sunscreen, and what SPF should it be?
Oh, for sure. I like Beauty Counter. They're a mineral-based sunscreen.
Beauty Counter, actually, most of their products are vegan, and they're vegan. And Stacey Heine, who's been on the show, sells it. She sent me some of their.
She's my good friend. Yeah, she's a good friend of mine. So.
Well, and she's gorgeous, and she sent me their Twin Skin Foundation and some lipstick, and their products seem really nice.
Yes, I love their products. So I mean, they're vegan. They're all natural. There's no there's nothing, no toxins in their products. But I think that if you're going to like a drugstore, on a whim or whatever, just make sure that it's a physical sunscreen so that it actually gives you maximum protection, broad spectrum protection.
Okay. Yes, you have a very calm demeanor.
Oh, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice to consult with you. You seem very, Elizabeth wants to know, what's your favorite dish and what do you make often?
So day to day, like I'm really basic, I promise. Like I sometimes I'll steam a baked potato, I'll steam a yam or a potato, or I'll pop it in the air fryer, like cut up, and then I'll just have that with salsa and guacamole for lunch. Like I'm really weird that way. I'll make weird concoctions on the go. I have like 7 pieces of fruit a day though. And then I love to have kale in my fridge, purple cabbage in my fridge. And then when I need to basically supplement any sort of meal, like a soup or a chili or a rice bowl or whatever, I'll chop up the kale or purple cabbage or something to get it into my meal, to get cruciferous vegetables into any dish. I'll also do that with broccoli and cauliflower. I'll process raw broccoli, raw cauliflower, and I'll have broccoli sprouts in my fridge to be able to just add to anything that I'm eating. Like for example, avocado toast can be really, really basic with just avocado, but you can also add broccoli sprouts to that. You can add peppers to that. You can add, chopped purple cabbage to that, and mango, and make it like a fantastic, really like cancer-fighting meal. So, but my favorite food of all time, I think I love tofu. Like I love marinating tofu with a bit of like tamari and a little bit of maple syrup and tahini and whatever else, and just like throwing that into a rice bowl and having like a beautiful miso dressing or a beautiful garlic tahini dressing on top. That's kind of my favorite food.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of favorite food, what about your favorite smoothie?
Yeah, let's make the smoothie. And I'll, Chef AJ, is it okay if I just talk a little bit about the ingredients?
Well, I'd love for you to.
What they do for in terms of cancer fighting?
Of course.
Okay, perfect. So I stand up, you might not see me. Okay, whatever, it's fine. So I have my blender here. I don't have a Vitamix, but what you need is just a high-powered blender, right? To make a smoothie. And all the ingredients are on my website under the tab recipes. So I start with a cup to a cup and a half of soy milk, organic soy milk. If you don't have soy milk, you can definitely use oat milk or whatnot. And soy, again, is one of the top cancer-fighting foods on the planet because it contains isoflavones. And isoflavones are phytoestrogens that have been shown to help reduce the risk of breast cancer. Chef AJ, I'm pretty sure you already know this, but the phytoestrogens in soy actually block the dangerous animal estrogen in our body. So they bind to the same receptor. Actually, we have two receptors, alpha and beta, but the binding of phytoestrogens in soy foods actually prevents the binding of dangerous estradiol in the body. So it's actually like a protective mechanism with soy. And studies have shown that women who consume half a cup of tofu to 1 cup of soy milk per day have 30% reduction in breast cancer risk, which is amazing. It's amazing. And actually, the earlier you start, the better. So if you're consuming soy as a young child in terms of women, so if you're consuming it in childhood, you actually can, studies show that it reduces the risk of adult onset breast cancer by up to 58%. So if you have daughters, get them started on eating whole food soy early.
I wish I wasn't allergic to it.
You're allergic to it? Okay, well
Yeah.
then flax is the next one, right?
Nice.
For phytoestrogens, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, soy is really, really important. And for breast cancer survivors as well, it reduces the risk of recurrence and death. So keep that in mind, please. Next up, we have just banana. I always use like a small banana. It can be frozen or not, doesn't matter. That's just for sweetness, but bananas also have cancer-fighting properties. So they're delicious, but they also have cancer-fighting properties. And then I also like to pop in a couple dates for sweetness and minerals and more fiber, but they're really, really delicious. Next up, we have green tea. Green tea has some of the most, so this is actually matcha powder, matcha green tea powder. I like to use matcha because it is easy to do in terms of adding it to a smoothie. I like organic matcha. You can get this on Amazon if you're not able to get to the store. And I just pop that in, about half a teaspoon to a teaspoon. And you can also actually empty an organic green tea bag if you don't have matcha powder, or you can use sencha powder, or you can actually brew green tea and just use a couple ounces of your brewed green tea in your smoothie. So green tea has a compound called EGCG, and this is one of the most natural compounds in food that can actually induce cancer cell death. So it's called apoptosis, that's the term, and it's really, really powerful for that, as well as preventing the growth of blood vessels by a tumor. So it's one of the most powerful foods we can possibly consume. Next up, we have amla powder, which is another powder, looks like that. Amla powder is an Indian gooseberry powder, and it has been shown to have the highest levels of antioxidants of any food on the planet. So a study done, I think it was on 3,100 different plants, found that amla had the highest amounts of antioxidants of any food. It's also super high in vitamin C, which brings me to another point of the ingredients in green tea, the EGCG, the catechins, they're not very absorbable by the body. Only 20% of them are absorbed in the body after digestion. And vitamin C makes them more bioavailable for absorption. So amla powder with the green tea is a really, really great combo for that. And amla powder is literally, I did get this off Amazon actually. It's just a powder form. You get it in a bag and it lasts forever because you only use a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon. And it's super bitter, so you have to be aware of that. It's very, very bitter and sour. So we need the bananas and the dates in the smoothie for that. Next up, we have another marriage combo of turmeric and black pepper. So you can use fresh turmeric root, or you can use ground dried turmeric powder like I have here. Make sure there's a little bit of black pepper in combination. And I use a half a teaspoon in my smoothie. You can start with 1/4 if it's too much for you, because turmeric is obviously really, really pungent. Turmeric is another exceptionally powerful cancer-fighting food. It belongs to all the different subgroups of a substance that has been shown to prevent and fight cancer. Turmeric blocks carcinogen action. It induces cancer cell death, which is again apoptosis or cell suicide, and it helps to reprogram our cells to be able to self-destruct when they are unhealthy or abnormal. So turmeric is really, really important. And it's also important to recognize that turmeric is more powerful in a whole food form rather than an isolated curcumin form. Studies show that, like lab studies show that turmeric, whole food turmeric, is much more potent in terms of killing cancer cells versus curcumin, like extract. So always use the whole food if you can.
Does it matter? Do you have a particular brand of green tea that you like to use? And does it matter if it's caffeinated or decaffeinated?
That's a really good question. I like organic matcha, is as long as it's organic, it's important to me. Sencha, there's a brand that Stacey Heine always recommends for sencha powder, and I don't remember what it's called now, but that's what I'm ordering next.
There's a brand I love called Say Me. I don't know if you've heard of it. Yeah, and I have a discount code for that, and I've had the Kiyomi on the show many times, and it does come decaffeinated as well.
That's right. That's the one I'm ordering next. So if you could put a link to that, maybe that'd be great. That'd be fantastic. Yeah, and you can just use that. Sencha. So sencha has the highest amounts of EGCG of any green tea on the planet. Japanese teas have more than Chinese teas, and sencha is like the highest. That's a really good point as well. Next up, we have flaxseed. Okay, so Chef AJ, you're allergic to soy, which is important for phytoestrogens. Flaxseed, ground flaxseed, always choose ground, is high in phytoestrogens called lignans. And lignans have been shown to directly suppress the growth of breast cancer cells in petri dishes and lab studies. And women who have higher levels of lignans in their blood tend to have a reduced risk of breast cancer, according to population studies. So we know that. And then the phytoestrogens in flaxseed also help to reduce the circulating estrogen levels in the body. So that's what you would be going for every day. And I recommend 1 to 2 tablespoons a day for flaxseed. Next up, we have berries. Berries are, here I have blackberries. And you can use any berries you want. You can use frozen, fresh, doesn't matter. Pop them in. Berries are very, very important because they have ellagic acid and anthocyanins that have both been shown to block carcinogen action and also induce apoptosis and prevent blood vessel formation called angiogenesis again by a tumor. And they're delicious and they're high in fiber. Like a cup of raspberries has 8 grams of fiber. So you're getting a ton of benefit there. And fiber binds to excess hormones in the body, excess toxins, and excretes them out from your colon. Next up, we have some kale from my garden. Any leafy green will do, but I love cruciferous leafy greens the most because they're giving you that extra cancer-fighting benefit, which I'll talk about in a second. So I go for about a cup to 2 cups in my smoothies, depending on what I have available. And then leafy greens have been linked to a reduced risk of chronic disease. They're high in every vitamin, mineral, phytochemicals, etc., especially potassium, which is really, really important as well for our health. And then we have the next group of vegetables that are cancer fighting, which are the cruciferous vegetables again. Kale was one of them, but I also like to add broccoli, like raw broccoli, actually, the actual, cut up, or cauliflower or broccoli sprouts, which I have here. And broccoli sprouts, you can actually sprout yourself, or you can get them from a grocery store. And the cool thing about cruciferous vegetables, and it's really, really important to remember this, is that within a cruciferous vegetable, there are 2 compounds that have to like come together and react to produce the cancer-fighting bioactive compounds called isothiocyanates or indoles. So you have to blend or chew or chop a raw cruciferous vegetable in order for that to happen. That's why blending them up is a really good idea, because it's done for you, right? Everything is done for you. And you're creating those cancer-fighting compounds in the blender. You don't have to worry about chewing as much.
You know, I never saw anybody put sprouts in a smoothie until last week. We had Rebecca Matzel on, who that's what she grows and deals with and sells. And she made a broccoli sprout pina colada smoothie. It looked interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I can't really taste them as much. Maybe I'm just used to it, but yeah, it's a really good way. But also, if you're not putting them in your smoothie, it's really easy just to eat them out of the jar or the container or whatever, and just throw them into your salads and your sandwiches, etc. So it's really easy to eat them as well because they're so light.
There's a question from Gina. Can one use chia seeds instead of flax, or does flax have the specific cancer-fighting property you're looking for?
Yeah, you can definitely add chia seeds as well. They're high in omega-3s, just as flax is really, really high in omega-3s. But flax has lignans in it, which are the phytoestrogens that have been studied for reducing our risk of breast cancer and prostate cancer, actually. So phytoestrogens are hormone modulating. So any hormonal cancers like ovarian, breast, prostate, they're going to be really beneficial.
There's a question, does any kind of soy work? Would edamame work? Or does it have to be soy milk? And how young should a woman start consuming soy?
I think I've never seen like a minimal or a minimum age. I think that I have a lot of friends who are in the medical community who are vegan, who feed their toddlers soy, babies as well. I don't think there's an age limit there. And yeah, you can definitely add edamame, like cooked edamame to a smoothie if you have a high power blender. I think it would work. I've never done it though. Mm-hmm. Or soft tofu even. I'm sure you can add that as well.
We have a question from Shar, and I know you can't specifically answer medical questions, but it's more of a general question, I think, that I'm going to ask you. She says her sister's been battling metastatic breast cancer for a year now. She has sores in her mouth, chronic diarrhea. Can she be helped nutritionally at this stage? So I think the broader question, because you can't really speak to her sister because she's not your client, but how far, I mean, is it ever too late for somebody to use nutrition as a tool in the toolbox?
Oh, sorry. I should have highlighted this before. It is never too late to use nutrition, and it is never too late to start to support the body, because your body is designed to heal itself. It needs the right tools. And, again, it's not medical advice at all, but you can definitely help your sister. You can definitely support her through nutritional therapy. With mouth sores, there are specific smoothies and mouthwashes that you can incorporate with that, and then get her on like a plant-based protein smoothie, I would say, that is to get her protein intake and her calorie density up as well, for sure.
Terrific. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Here's a great question from Susanna, who always has great questions. I think I should hire her as my show researcher, but I know that you can't say anybody's name, obviously, that you work with. You have to keep it anonymous, but she said, could you share somebody maybe that you work with as a cancer consultant who turned their cancer around?
Yeah, there are many. Okay, so basically when I see clients going through cancer treatment, usually I see them when it's stage 3 or 4, when chemotherapy hasn't maybe worked, right? So it's really difficult. It becomes more challenging, but there are a handful of patients, actually 2 that come to mind in the last year, both dealing with glioblastoma, aggressive brain cancer. Both of them changed their dietary habits, went completely plant-based, and I think they both had surgery, they both had chemo, but they also both had 3 to 6 months life expectancy, and they're both thriving. One of my clients, sorry, I said a year ago, but he actually, I worked with him in 2017. And he's one of my good friend's father. So I'm always in touch, and he's in his early 70s and thriving. And another client was about a year ago, and he's again had a 3-month life expectancy given by his doctor, and he's doing great, and there's no sign of cancer.
That's amazing. This is my cancer prevention right here.
There's your little
You know, it's so funny. Whenever the show, it's like she's my alarm clock. Whenever the show goes longer than an hour, she's like, "Mommy, it's lunchtime."
I need you. Yes, we're almost done.
Oh, no, it's okay. I'm just saying it's just so funny how she does that. She's
With
just
Bailey, right?
Bailey. Yes.
Oh, beautiful.
She's sweet. I just love her so much.
She's so beautiful.
I know. I mean, you know, we can have be having the worst day, and then she just, I mean, I just hope that anybody that has a chronic disease, cancer or not, would just get some kind of a pet, because I know the research shows you live longer, you live healthier, and you have to
look at the love. Look at the love, and they help you go plant-based as well, because you get to see that they have these incredible souls.
They are the best. I just love her so much. What can I do?
She loves you.
What kind of dog do you have?
Mine is a Jack Russell. He's a Jack Russell.
Oh, cute.
Yeah. Cute. And I tried to make him vegan, but it didn't work out very well. So.
Yeah, I know. We try with Bailey, and she's just, you know, I adopted her at 4. I think maybe when you get them as a puppy, maybe, but you know, they're like, they're stubborn. They get set in their tastes, you know?
Yes. Yeah. And he's allergic to beans and carrots and peas. So it was like, okay, I can't, you know, but okay. Last ingredient that I throw in my smoothie. If I'm not using a green powder, this is the last ingredient. I will use a medicinal mushroom powder. Medicinal mushrooms, there are hundreds of studies that have been done on medicinal mushrooms in terms of health benefits, but also cancer. And in Japan and China, oncologists use medicinal mushrooms as an adjunct to chemotherapy and radiation, because it does help to improve, or can help to improve, treatment outcomes and mitigate side effects of chemo and radiation. So medicinal mushroom powder is something that I use every day. Mushrooms contain a compound called beta-glucan that helps to support the immune system. So I just put in like a little scoop of that, because that's all you need per day. And you can put that in your coffee as well. If you're having coffee or tea or even your oatmeal, it's tasteless entirely. And this is a combination of various mushrooms like lion's mane, cordyceps, maitake, shiitake, reishi, turkey tail, etc. So they're really, really important, and they have been shown to inhibit cancer cell growth in laboratory studies. So again, really, really important. And if you look at Asian populations where they consume mushrooms regularly, they do tend to have lower rates of breast cancer, and prostate cancer. And mushrooms also help to suppress the enzyme that produces estrogen in the body. So it's like tamoxifen. It's like the drug tamoxifen. Mushrooms have the same mechanism, which is really, really cool. Yeah, so then I'm not going to blend because it's going to be really, really loud, but all you would do is you just blend this up and you're done. And you have this incredible cancer-fighting concoction.
I mean, you're allowed to blend it if you want, and maybe you don't want to drink it right now, though.
It's just going to be really loud because my blender is not the best.
Okay. How many times a day should you drink the smoothie? Asks Shar.
So what I did was the actual like ingredients in the smoothie is I tried to make, I took from the guide that I created. So you're getting like 8 ingredients from the guide immediately. So once a day. Nice. I tried to make it like a one-stop kind of meal to get the majority of the daily guides ingredients in there. And then as you go along through your day, maybe you'll add a little bit more flax to a salad or a fruit salad, or maybe you'll have turmeric in your curry that night or something. So you have room there as well.
Right. You don't happen to have a USPO box, do you?
Oh, what? Sorry.
A USPO box.
No, I don't.
Only because every guest on the show the first time gets 2 free samples of California balsamic, but they have to.
Oh, they have to have a box.
Yeah, he can't sue.
Oh, that's too bad. That's okay. Thank you for.
But if you ever get to the United States and I'm still doing the show, you can take me up on the offer. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Chef AJ. So great.
Absolutely. Nice. Hey, you have a course, and I know you're offering the viewers a discount. You want to say what it is? Because the link is in the show notes, and show notes are only viewable on YouTube. So head on over to YouTube to see that. It's right below the video.
Yeah, so thank you. I have a course coming up September 1st. It's launching. It's called the 7-Day Anti-Cancer Diet Kickstart. So it's just an online course, 7 days with a meal plan, recipes, guided, that will show you and teach you about the link between diet and cancer in a little bit more detail. And then it'll also take you through day by day how to incorporate a plant-based dietary pattern with cancer-fighting foods to help you reduce your risk of cancer if you're looking to be proactive against developing it, or if you're a caregiver to someone who has it, or if you're going through cancer yourself, just making sure that you're getting those phytochemicals that have been shown to help reduce the risk of cancer growth in your daily diet.
Thank you. Diane says, what brand was the mushroom powder? And Gina said, can any vegan medicinal mushroom powder be used?
Yeah, as long as it's a reputable company, and I like for the mushrooms for the supplement to use the fruiting body, not the mycelium, the actual mushroom caps, not just the root system. This is Fresh Cap. I really like their stuff. Fresh Cap. I get it online. This is called the Thrive 6. It's like an immunity blend. But yes, any high quality powder will do for sure.
Mona says, in your course, is there a PDF and is it printable?
There are multiple PDFs. You get an ebook with it that has like a guide to cancer, to diet and cancer, scientific studies. There's also a meal plan, a 7-day meal plan, matching recipes, tons of information. You also get a variety of different PDF resources, including like a dairy alternatives PDF. You get the daily guide to cancer-fighting foods. You get a smoothie guide as well. There are so many different things that are included in that course. I just don't want to overwhelm people, but you get at least 6 different PDF resources to help you with your dietary change.
Fantastic. And there's a question from Victoria. What is your opinion about spirulina powder?
I love spirulina powder because it is a really, really wonderful way to get your protein intake up if you need to. So I do work with athletes on occasion, and that is one of their kind of like secret weapons, is using spirulina in smoothies to help get their protein intake up, as well as iron and other minerals as well.
Nice. Well, you have been just such a delight. What can I tell you?
Oh, it's been so fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really, so thank you for the work you do. And I'm so happy that you're able to help people because you've been through it.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's been amazing being in your company. Absolutely.
Thank you, Hannah. Well, you're named after my favorite food, the Hanna yam. What can I tell you?
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, perfect.
Yes. Kristen says, you're beautiful. You radiate health.
Oh, that's so nice. Well, I have a ring light, so don't get it.
Yeah, me too. And without it, it just looks so dark. And Hannah says that she's going to check, not Hannah, you're Hannah. Somebody said, Colleen says she's going to check out your program. So great. Well, thanks, Hannah.
So
maybe
great.
you'll come on again sometime and we can talk some more.
Yes, that'd be amazing. And thank you to your viewers as well. And thank you for having me again.
It was my pleasure. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back in a little over 90 minutes at 2 p.m. Pacific time when my monthly guest, the first Tuesday of every month, is Thomas Allen from California Balsamic for Tuesdays with Thomas. Let me tell you what he's going to be making, recipes that were sent in by you, the viewer: black bean mango and sweet potato delight, roasted balsamic beets, and orange glad balsamic slaw. Take care. Do you like balsamic vinegar though? Should you ever come to the United States?
Yes, I love it. I love it, love it, love it. So it's so flavorful.
Okay. You've got to get a friend in the US so we can send
I do.
Yeah, we can send it to and maybe somebody's going to visit you in the near future and we can send it to them and they can bring it over.
Yeah, I have a couple ideas. Okay, great.
Okay, let me know. Okay, great. Thanks so much, Hannah. Okay, take care.